Good afternoon. It's, 5:12 on January 18th, and I call to order the meeting of the Board of Commissioners. Could you please take the roll, ma'am?
Fox.
Right here.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Here.
Coonan.
Here.
Radke. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Herrick.
Here. Next, invocation, please.
Lord, we ask that you bless this session of the Board of Commissioners this day, and that you lead and guide this board in the decisions made so that all citizens in this community will benefit. Amen.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any citizen in?
All right, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I don't know if this is the time to do it.
No, in a second, 1 second. Just after citizen input. Give me a second. Okay.
You're the man. All right.
Any citizen input? Seeing none. Now is the time to do it.
All right, I'd like to use Article 10, Section 4 to add 2 items to the agenda. And the first one would be the Veterans Foundation, the $250,000 that they applied for. They came and gave us a presentation, and it goes for construction for the building over here on Madison. And it is a great project. I mean, it's transformational. So I think we should, if you want to discuss it, we discuss it at some point, and then we'll vote on it. And the second one is because, I would like to put forward allocate $150,000 for a broadband study for the county, because, the feds are coming in with money, and if we don't have a plan, we're going to go to the bottom of the list. We need to go out and get an RFP, have somebody come in and let us know what we need to do, so when that money becomes available, we can give them this, and we're all set. We don't want to be reacting. We want to be proactive, not reactive. So I'd like to put those 2 on the agenda for discussion and vote on it, if I could.
I'll support both.
On those 2 items, is there any discussion?
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
You should take the 2 items separately.
Pardon me?
You should take the 2 items separately.
Separately. Okay, those 2 items will be separately. And I'll piggyback that, and I would like to add we had a little miscommunication, and so Bay Community Foundation is here, and since they have a resolution on the agenda, there's a presentation that goes along with it, and I would like that to be considered for in addition as under presentations, which we don't have at this time. But I need a motion for that.
Motion to move. I'll support it.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to go to the first one, which is the one for the Bay Veterans Foundation. We okay? Okay. So was there no discussion on that,
I have a
ma'am?
question.
Commissioner Fox.
In this items for just consideration, would that be added to the end then, since it is an add-on? Right, so it would be item F?
Would probably be an F, yeah.
And then the broadband study would be G,
Yes.
and then the presentation.
Well, the presentation would be the first.
Correlate.
It would be the first thing.
Okay.
Right, it's going to be on the presentations. So, under item F, do we want this added to the agenda? Take a roll, please.
Coonan.
Yes.
Radke.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Yes.
Herrick.
Yes. G, the broadband study, or not his study, allocation. Go ahead, please.
Radke.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Yes.
Coonan.
Yes.
Herrick.
Yes. And the last one is the presentation by the Bay Area Community Foundation.
Johnson.
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
Bigick,
Yes.
Coonan,
Yes.
Radke,
Yes.
Herrick.
Yes. Okay, away we go. Bay Area Community Foundation, you are up.
Good evening. Thank you so much. My name is Diane Fong. I'm the CEO of the Bay Area Community Foundation. And my guess is all of you are sitting here at this table because you have chosen to serve, because you care about the community. We, nonprofits and government, are a lot alike that way. We are both working to strengthen our community by providing services that our residents need. We are often tasked with insurmountable problems, at least they seem that way. Our community, Bay County, is not made of Warren Buffett's, Oprah Winfrey's, Rockefellers, or Bill Gates. What we are is a community of scrappers. We are can-do scrappers. We are ordinary people who do extraordinary things. And our nonprofit community is the spirit of doers, of scrappy doers. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. So our nonprofits matter. They touch all of our lives. For many of us, we think that nonprofits are here to serve the downtrodden or those that are down on their luck, and that's not true. If you were born in a hospital, you are likely born in a nonprofit hospital. Vaccines, right? They're the hot topic right now, but none of us have had to deal with polio, and that is because a nonprofit, the March of Dimes, funded the research that broke through and saved us from that awful disease. If you've played in the Little League, if you were a part of 4-H, if you were a Boy Scout, if you were a Girl Scout, if you ate the Girl Scout cookies or ate the Boy Scout popcorn, you were touched by a nonprofit. If you work out at the Y, if you go to a library, if you've received a scholarship for post-secondary education, if your kids or your grandchildren have gone to Head Start, you've been touched by a nonprofit. If you've been at a free concert at Winona Park or at a show at the State Theater, life has been touched by a nonprofit. If you've walked along the Riverwalk, if you've explored the more than 20 miles of rail trail in Bay County, you have been touched by a nonprofit. If you've been up at the Pinconning Community Center or the dog park, if you've played in the Saginaw Bay, if you've kayaked from Stye Park in Monitor Township, if you've enjoyed the view at Linwood Scenic Point, if you've sailed with Bay Sail, or enjoyed the 4th of July fireworks, you have been touched by a nonprofit. I think you get my drift. So my question, what I want to talk to you about today, is why nonprofits matter. Beyond that, beyond their personal touch on our individual lives, they're economic drivers. So across our country, nonprofits employ over 12 million people. In Michigan, 11% of our state's employment is through nonprofits. But not only do they create jobs for people, they create the capacity for others to work in nonprofit businesses by providing childcare, elderly respite care. They provide job training and placement and education. They consume the goods and services that create more jobs, and they attract visitors and employers by contributing to the quality of life. I was looking recently at the Great Lakes Bay Convention and Visitors Bureau listing of the top things to do in Bay City, and more than half of them were through nonprofits. So they most definitely impact quality of life. So at the Bay Area Community Foundation, this past fall, we took part in a community survey. So we are in the midst of strategic planning, and so we reached out to some of our key stakeholders. We asked them, this question in particular on the screen in front of you is about nonprofits only. So it is nonprofits we funded and nonprofits we haven't. And we asked them, looking ahead for the next 3 years, what is the greatest challenge that you will be facing? And you will see that there was a very, very clear theme. The first was that the demand for services is increasing while the availability of funding is decreasing. It's putting our nonprofits in a very vulnerable situation. So we are here to advocate for them. The Bay Area Community Foundation for 40 years has been here serving the community. We have built charitable capital by connecting our donors to community needs and the areas of impact that they are most interested in. We invest more than $2 million through grant making every single year. We've done 45 million since our inception. But we don't just provide money. We provide technical assistance and capacity building to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our nonprofit partners. It is for these reasons that we feel our nonprofit sector deserves a comprehensive program specifically tailored to their needs. So we're presenting a two-tier approach of support. One is operating grants, while the second is program, project, or capital grants that would align with defined interest areas of the commissioners. The Bay Area Community Foundation has the staff and the systems to carry out effective and strategic investments, and we always do final reporting with our grantees. But what's most important about the Bay Area Community Foundation's grant-making program is that it is community-driven. It is not staff, it is not my job, nor any of our program officers' job to decide who gets funding. It is decided by community members. We have a grants committee of 12 to 18 volunteers that review and make funding recommendations on every single grant to our Board of Trustees, which represents another 21 Bay County volunteers. So we have done operating grants, especially throughout COVID, and I wanted to share with you what our scoring rubric was. We looked at whether these nonprofits contribute to the social safety net or sense of place in Bay County. We looked at whether they have demonstrated a long-term commitment to the community. How significant did COVID-19 impact their organization? This could be a loss of revenue, such as State Theater or organizations that literally had to shut down might have experienced, or it could be the incredible increased demand for their services that other nonprofits experience. So we look at both sides of that. We looked at have they adapted and made changes to programming and their fundraising plans. It's not okay to be impacted. We have to be aggressive. We have to be lean and mean and make adaptations to continue serving our clients. We look for people who are showing initiative to get funding from other sources. Would our grant be critical? Have they done their homework? Do they have their financial statements in order? Are they looking at cash flow? Are they looking at budget? Have they submitted all the information? And are they taking steps at the end of the day to become sustainable in the long run? And then program and project grants. If this were something that were to be done, we would work with commissioners to identify priority interest areas. If you all did not want to identify those areas, there are a couple different options that would be feasible. The first one is the Bay County Roadmap to the Future. This was a community visioning document that was led by the Chamber and the Bay Area Community Foundation back in 2014, and it laid out pillars for community success. It was a 10-year plan, so we are still within that 10-year period, but those pillars for success are exactly what everyone's been talking about throughout COVID. So that has not changed, and that is that we must have a robust and diverse economy, that we must have a talented workforce. It is critical that our community have a strong sense of place, and that we care for the needs of our citizens. That could be another set of priority areas for grant making. Or throughout our survey, when we asked our stakeholders, now this is not just our nonprofits, it also includes our donors. When we asked them what they felt were the areas of greatest opportunity for our community, areas where we can make our mark, what they said is recreational tourism, development of our community, downtown, that sense of place and infrastructure development, and then access to education and scholarships for our residents. Now, if we look at it on the flip side so that's from an asset-based viewpoint. If we looked at it from a needs-based viewpoint, they indicated that mental health issues and substance use disorders are top priority. Sense of place, creating a welcoming, thriving community that people want to be a part of, was their second priority. Education, community engagement, which that's strengthening community leadership for a broader vision of community, and then basic emergency human needs. So those are different ways that we establish funding priorities. At the end of the day, these ARPA funds represent a silver lining in what would be called a COVID cloud or storm. More residents than ever before are turning to nonprofits for help, and our nonprofits are delivering. We have proven time and time again that government and nonprofits and businesses, we are all better when we work together. When done right, funding decisions are not about dollars and cents. They are about impact and contributing to the social fabric, our safety net, our economic vitality, and our sense of place. So I thank you for the opportunity to make the case for all of our nonprofit partners, such as Keith Markstrom, with the veterans, and Beth Urich with the seniors, and the work that Shauna was talking about with housing. Those are all critical human needs that nonprofits address.
Any questions? Commissioner Krieger.
Thank you. First, let me start off by saying I appreciate all the support you've given us out at the Bay City State Recreation Area.
You're welcome.
Known as the Bay City State Park now.
Yes.
You guys have really stepped up and helped us out a lot. Kathy Washabau's been an intricate part with your organization, as well as being a member of the Friends Group. So, that being said, we're being asked to give money to Bay Future as well as to you. When you look at the funds that are going to be dispersed, how are we going to know that the money that you guys are putting out won't also be money that Bay Future will be putting out? How do we know that there will be a separation?
Sure. So I would say that our two organizations have a long history of working together. So I'll let Trevor address anything as well. My thought is that the Community Foundation would address the nonprofits, and Trevor could address his money to the for-profit businesses.
Okay.
And at the very least, we will compare, and we will make sure we coordinate.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Diane, I can tell you, from my perspective, and Shauna's, I think I don't want to speak for you, but I think if you concur. So, I've had the pleasure, working with the foundation for the past 6 years, and Shauna's been working for a few years now, and I've used the rotation on the board, and I've learned so much about community and need and a sense of place, and from all the people, like you said, the community volunteers that show up to distribute, these funds, the people that apply. It's amazing. It's amazing the work you guys do, and I was very fortunate to be a part of it for, like I said, 6 years, and like I said, Shauna still is. Every place I could think of, from the Women's Center to Camp Fishtails, that comes in, and you have such a way of vetting these, you have a process, that a lot of places don't have. And I think that's one of the most important steps that some of the commissioners always talked about. What's the process? Well, you have it. The process is in place. You used it for years, and it works. We know it works. There's people that come in that aren't prepared, and they don't do the paperwork right, and you just tell them that you'll either tell them, come back. You help them out if they want it. Right. If they don't want help, they just don't. They don't make the cut. And you do what you can for the people you can. And I think you've been a great service to the community for years, and I expect you will be for years to come. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, listening to your presentation, there's a lot there that makes sense to me. So I don't think we have the resources to be able to vet all of that. I think it certainly levels the playing field for everyone, because we have so many great nonprofits and so many needs. And I think it's your expertise. So there's a lot I like about it, including the collaboration, because that is one of the things that they speak a lot with ARPA funding is collaboration.
Right.
So thank you.
Yep. So I will add, there are 784 registered nonprofits in Bay County. 784. There are 200 of them that we have communication with in our database. And there are about 50 of those that have endowment funds. So those are endowment funds that provide for their operating support. So it is a huge field, and the sophistication runs the gamut. From, a mother who is impassioned about a cause because her child might have been struck by a disease. And then there's organizations like the YMCA, that is a multi-million-dollar gem in our community. So, and they're all critically important.
Commissioner Begic.
So I had the opportunity to be on the Bay County Roadmap to the Future Committee, and I thought it had died, because we did a lot of work back in 2014 and then hadn't heard a whole lot about it, but looks like it's still ongoing. And there's always a balance between business needs and community needs, and that's always sometimes a disagreement between political parties about which one you're going to focus on. Hopefully we can focus on both, the citizens and the businesses, because without businesses, they don't have jobs, and without citizens, they don't have people to work. So
Right.
I think we need to keep that balance and try to, and we have a lot of people in the ALICE category, that are below income levels in Bay County are fairly high, so hopefully we can help some of them along
We
the way,
do.
too.
And I would not want support for the nonprofit at the expense of support for our businesses. I think there's space for both. I'm a proponent of balance. And I also want to address the roadmap, because I came into this position 4 years ago, and I am a strong advocate of activity does not equal results. So meeting and talking doesn't make change happen. So we haven't been having regular meetings where we all get together and say, okay, we need to do this. What we're using those pillars are as guiding principles for how we look at our funding, and as guiding principles for how we're going to direct our time and energy. And there's groups that are doing that as well. Bay Future, the proposal that they put together with talent retention and the storytelling with Phil Ike, all of that finds its roots in that roadmap. You can tie it all back to that. So people are doing work, we're just not talking about it.
Anyone else? Thank you, Diane.
All right, thank you, Tom.
That's wonderful. Okay, here we go. Resolution number 22-13, Bay Future ARPA funding. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support?
Discussion. Commissioner Krieger. Sorry, Commissioner Kuna. Commissioner Kuna. I don't know what I was looking at. Would you like to ask questions? Would you like these guys to come up so you can ask questions?
Trevor,
Better looking.
now, criteria for businesses that apply. What are you looking for? Are you looking for 2019? Are they giving you their financials so you can determine whether or not they need help?
Yeah, so we've administered, more than 10 of these grants over the last 24 months, and there's varying criteria and eligibility requirements and the like. And, I think what we proposed was, a great draft, and one that can, you can work through kind of the minutia of some of those types of things. And it's really what gets down to, what's the most important and that we're affecting the most critical, right?
What I'm asking you, what is the business providing to you so that you know that they need the money?
It would be a portion of financials, yeah.
Like, because of the pandemic, you got 19, 20, and 21 would, 19 and 20 are pretty tough, or one would be before, then one would be during, and one would be after.
Yep. Yeah, so like I said, there's...
Anybody that applies has to provide you that information.
Yes, they could.
No, I don't say could, they do. I mean, if I'm going to ask you for some money, what are you going to ask me to provide to you so that you know I need money?
Cause. Correct. Yeah, what's that gap? That's what we're looking for. What's that need?
He's asking what documentation you make the businesses provide to you in order to support their request.
There are multiple, for this one specifically, we would ask for them to provide some financials to prove that they're having the issues that they've identified that they're having, or that they've been impacted by COVID, as the eligibility requirement would state.
Okay, so anybody that applies is going to be required to provide the same criteria to you?
That's correct.
Financials?
That's correct.
Okay. Let me ask you, under recreational facilities, what would that be? An example of a recreational facility?
Yeah, so this information is taken from the Executive Order 2020 that identified multiple, I think there's 36 different subsections of small business or industry. Recreation was one of those. Recreational facilities that wouldn't be nonprofits, such as gyms, would be one. That was identified specifically in the Executive Order, like I said, of 2020 that were forced to close.
So a recreational facility would be a gym?
As one example, correct.
Okay. And then you're going to enter into a contract with the county, and, I mean, $2 million, I know it's broken down into 3 areas, but $2 million is a lot of money. You're going to come back to the county on a monthly basis and say, I made these contacts, or these people have applied, or, say the names, but A, B, and C have applied, and we're doing this, so that we have a general idea where that money is going, and, because it's not our money, it's the taxpayers' money.
We'll follow any terms that are put into place, yes. We're happy to come back and do reporting and let you know where those dollars were spent, of course.
I think Amber has it.
Yeah, just to clarify on that, Commissioner Coonan, I did talk to the Finance Department about what they would require in terms of reporting and what would be their preference, and the preference that I was given was quarterly reporting from the Finance Department.
But they're going to report to the board.
Correct, yes.
They're coming to the
What will
board.
happen is they'll make sure that the Finance Office has it, so the Finance Office can report whatever they need to the state, and also Bay Future can come back at that point in time if the board so desires, and give a presentation at that time as well. But we were looking at quarterly reporting.
Number one, you need to have the quarterly reports because the finance usually
Correct.
they report quarterly.
Correct.
But you can also put in that you want them to do reports to the board once a month.
Can put anything in there that you want.
And then disbursements, we're going to probably, it said that disbursements could be, over a time, that, you don't get the $2 million all at once.
Disbursements can be incremental or in a lump sum. Either is totally allowable under ARPA.
And is that something you're going to put in the contract?
Yes.
Mr. Barsha.
Oh, I was just going to mention to Trevor, I've been contacted by a lot of small business owners that weren't veterans, women-owned, or minority-owned. So there's some disappointment among a lot of businesses that are white male-owned businesses. Will you take into account any previous grants that have been allocated? For example, the Restaurant Revitalization Program dispersed $164 million in Bay County. So that would be part of your formula in terms of determining need previous grants that the business has been receiving.
That'll be one of the questions on the application. Yep.
Commissioner Fox.
I have a question relative to the small business support. So, yeah.
Beth throws a ticket.
Her.
Yeah.
So when she spoke last week, she mentioned that that service had been mostly utilized by companies located in Saginaw County. So my question is, if we financially support that endeavor, how will we be ensured that our funds will support Bay County businesses?
So yeah, let me clarify that. We have ran the 90-day boot camp refinement program only in Saginaw County. Our services spread 15 counties from Saginaw all the way up to Mackinac City, and the whole 15 county region along the Lake Huron shoreline. So we would, as we did with Saginaw County, we did a concerted outreach. And so we would do that very similar outreach. So our approach is we collaborate with the DDAs, the chambers, the chamber EDC to define our focus population. We develop and implement an outreach plan specific to Bay County businesses. And then we did a handful of kind of hosted informational sessions towards our focus population to provide greater awareness and confidence in the services and the program available. And then that's how we enrolled the different businesses into each cohort. And so in the proposal, we're proposing 2 cohorts per year, which is an 8 total over the next 3 years. And so there would be that targeted outreach. And to be very honest, our first session that we hosted, it took a little bit longer to get businesses into the pipeline. And once we completed our first cohort, we had a line of businesses saying, we've heard about this at a chamber event, or we heard about this program through our neighboring businesses. We want to be involved. We're excited about this. So the word of mouth, once kind of that first one launches, they're almost standing at our door saying, when is the next one launching? When is the next one? So this would be targeted specifically to Bay County businesses. And as we evolve over the next 3 years, hopefully shedding some light and looking at COVID in our rearview mirror, if there wants to be a specific session focused on minority-owned businesses, or a specific session for veteran-owned businesses, or a specific session on rural businesses or so forth, we can tailor that as well. But it would be more as a niche kind of population if that's what's determined as we continue to evaluate the success of each of the cohorts.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner,
One quick question. It might not be in here, but there was some information about a pop-up. Can you give us an example of what that would be?
A pop-up business?
I might take this one, Beth.
Okay. Go ahead, Phil.
So one of the models currently used in other communities is, and specifically communities that are struggling with building vacancy. So you go downtown, you have these buildings, they're not being used. What you can do is create a pop-up shop, a pop-up event, however you want to sustain that, to create a space for businesses that may not have the funds to be able to move into a storefront. And for that weekend, that week, that month, however it's decided to go, you can have 5 businesses, 10 businesses utilizing that vacant space that hasn't been used before. And as the community looking at that, it's great. It's a giant win because that building has been dead for 15 years. As small business, now I have an opportunity to interact with customers I wouldn't have. I get to experience what it feels like to have a storefront and get my foot in the door that way. And so it's a utilization of vacant spaces at the same time supporting small businesses that may not necessarily have the resources to live in a storefront.
And Phil, I'm going to add on to that. Yep. That's something that we primarily help our infancy businesses with, is they come in and they've done 5 or 6 pop-ups in one county or throughout Michigan, and they want to set up a storefront in our main street, in a downtown area, in a business district, out on a strip mall, whatever it may be, and they've now matured enough in their business cycle that then we can help them obtain a lease agreement. We help them with additional capital formation that then gets infiltrated into the community, hiring more employees, growing, et cetera. So it's kind of that twofold approach of the small business growth cycle.
Commissioner Radke.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for being here to answer our questions. I know that a lot of time and effort has been put forth by all of you in working with Bay County staff, so I do appreciate you being here. The plans look solid. I do have a question just for clarity purposes. Can you highlight what metrics are in place to make sure that you're reaching your goals for this proposal?
I'm assuming you kind of want metrics for each section of the
If you don't
proposal?
mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So the great part is specifically, I'll take marketing, for instance, the marketing effort. Primarily in websites, social medias, things like that, I can go into, for instance, an ad. Let's say that we spend $1,000 on an ad promoting some aspect of Bay County. What I can do is I can look at that ad and I can see how many people it reached. I can see the demographics of the people that it reached, where they lived, whether they're traveling through Bay County, whether they live here, whether they're connected here. And then that's combined with regular posts on social media, email lists. We can look and see how many people do we have on our email list. At the end of the year, do we have 5 people on our email list, or do we have 500 or 5,000? So the really great part with marketing is that there's more than enough metrics to go around. People visiting websites, clicking links, submitting resumes, for instance, on the workforce development side. On the placemaking side, you can do things like, let's say that we're hosting some kind of event. You can monitor the amount of attendees. If we host that event twice, we can say, did it increase the second time? As far as specific projects like the pop-up shops, or let's say it's a public art initiative, you can say, anything from how many businesses were there, and so the metrics are determined by the actions that are taken. But there's more than enough metrics to go around.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Casey, I can just jump in terms of what we measure success by. It's in our federal contract as well as our state contracts, but we look at business starts, jobs retained, jobs created, capital formation, number of training and webinars that a business or future business attends, and then contact and prep hours, how much face-to-face time they've received with a consultant, either via one-on-one or group setting.
Thank you, Beth.
And I just wanted to jump in and mention one other thing. Phil mentioned the resume uploads. I would also say it's not just how many people upload the resume, because anybody can upload a resume. It's actually how many people you place in jobs, and then the number of new residents that we get in the county over the next 3 years.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I was just going to ask just a couple of different things. Looking through the original proposal as it was kind of put out in October, the one we did to the city, we had kind of a timeline as to how long things might actually take. And of course, we're past December, so that timeline doesn't work. But being able to go ahead and look at that, what do you see as, like, how long do we keep the window open for applications for the grant process? How long do you think it would take before you close that window and then disperse it?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And taking a look at, kind of what we had originally proposed, we had some dates that, haven't been able to correlate now since those dates have passed. So we're looking to implement, very similarly the way that we had previously, and taking, the same kind of considerations as far as timeline is concerned. I'll have to take a look at it again and kind of extrapolate that out, through, the next couple of months or so. But our hope is to get this going as soon as possible and getting those dollars out there. There may be an opportunity to, or there may be a thought in which we do, a couple of different rounds. Some of those things have to be taken into consideration, I think. But the goal would be is to get these dollars out as quickly as possible. We've been making the case since the very beginning that businesses have had a, quite frankly, very tough time, difficult time, without a lot of resources and a lot of assistance. And it wouldn't make sense if we waited an additional 2 months to put this out there and make it available for small businesses if that were the case. So I appreciate the question. Yeah. Yeah.
Especially since looking back on past almost 2 years. Some places seem to be doing okay, and then all of a sudden, circumstances change.
And I would add too, with the spikes too that we've seen with different variants as well, that's caused different issues.
And then of course reporting. I know you had talked about, and we had talked about reporting like monthly. It would seem to make sense that we should probably do something like that with both of the other options as well. If we're putting the small business support in, if we had someone I don't know if monthly would work, because of course that would be somewhat perhaps different, but at least a quarterly reporting from what they're actually doing and how many people they're actually helping. And then collecting that data. The metrics are easy to go ahead and gather for sure, and probably too many. And so it would almost be, you have to almost put a focus to what metrics you might want to look at each time.
Yeah, and that's really what I do, and that's what I do for other communities, businesses that I've done work for, in that you don't want to say, hey, here's 3,000 metrics, and we're going to talk and explain all of them. What I do is, here's the top 10 metrics that you need to know, and similar to the reporting, quarterly is usually the best, because then you can notice trends. If you go month to month, you can have a really great month and a really bad month, and now you're making decisions on faulty data, and so quarterly reports with the most important metrics would be supplied.
If I could just say one more thing. I know looking over this proposal.
Go ahead.
One of the things
yeah, you can say one more thing.
I think actually we need two people that may say I can say one more thing. But that would be if I actually read the board rules 2 or 3 times. So anyway, the story, Karen was in here talking about how people seem to be at each other all the time, very public input. And I said to her, one of the biggest things that connects human beings is the fact it's story. It's why you read children's books to children. They can always attach themselves to characters with stories, because we all have like things that happen to us, like life experiences. And it's important that in doing something like that, if you want to tell the story of your community, that you find the right storyteller for that purpose. And if you have the opportunity to listen to any of Phil's podcasts, please do. They're outstanding. If you're going to find someone to change a narrative from the uglyish looking data that we looked at from the workforce that came in last time, in the hopes of changing the direction that you might be willing to go, story can move people. And it changes perceptions. So, but getting the right storyteller is important. So I know Phil's does the job. So thank you.
Commissioner Krieger.
So, did we ever find out how much the city is contributing towards Bay Future? Question that we had before, on what their contribution is. Bay City?
For this program?
Yes.
0. They've not approved a program in which Bay Future is helping to administer.
Okay.
Commissioner Begic, did you want to?
Yes, it's a challenge, I guess, because everybody's getting this money. So you guys have to be good, because you're competing with a lot of people. I mean, it's not that we're getting a grant that nobody else is getting. Everybody else is getting the money, so you're competing with all the communities around you, and it's a pretty strong one. Midland's a pretty strong community to attract people, so I guess I put the challenge on you to be better than them. Do a good job. Thank you.
Commissioner Fox.
Yeah, and speaking with the chair of the city, they indicated that one of the major reasons that they have not partnered with Bay Future yet is that they have allocated dollars, that they have the folks in-house to manage the program. We don't have that. We're in a very different situation. So much smaller amount of money that they can manage in-house. And that doesn't mean in the future they may not partner in another way. But that's what he had shared with me.
Yeah, that's correct.
Anyone else? I just want to say that I know a lot of people don't know that our county staff worked on this with you. You know, they refined from what you started with. I know a lot of these folks put in a lot of time on this. You know, so it wasn't just something that Bay Future dreamt up by themselves. You know, this was a joint effort between the county and Bay Future. And so all the staff that worked on it, like Mr. Barsha, you know who they all are, and but I know some of them, but I don't know all of them. But you know, they put their days in, and they refined this process throughout. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the staff for this, helping to come up with this proposal with Bay Future, the Chamber, and Phil. And and just say, in defense of the city, and sometimes I've been critical of water rates and things, I believe they did, you distributed $2.5 million to small business relief from rural development grant funding. Was that a year ago?
Yeah, we worked collaboratively on a community development block grant, COVID-specific program, like a grant program, about a year ago or so.
So you have the experience in vetting the small businesses and dispersing that funding, and there were no issues, correct? Because
correct.
You've got to be very careful spending federal money. If you get a little sideways of the regulations, there'll be repercussions. So that's one of the thoughts when we thought about Bay Future is, I don't know that we would have the staff and administration to, begin that process. We'd have to hire experts and other people that could help us disperse that so that we wouldn't, in fact, get sideways on the regulations or the intent of the federal statute and release of those funds. So I think it's a good, solid proposal, and I commend everybody who worked on it. I think it will help get relief to people, and also retaining talent and attracting talent is critical to our future, as we've heard from Michigan Works at the last board meeting. So thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks, Phil, and all the staff that worked on it.
All right, thank you. Okay, see no one else. Make this easy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, Bay Area Community Foundation ARPA funding.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 2022-15, the correction to the drain assessment, Mill Pond Drain.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The City of Bay City notification of application for obsolete property rehabilitation certificate at 1108 North Water Street, LLC.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Kuhn.
If I could get, and it doesn't have to come today if nobody knows it, this $4,781,000, that's investment. Now, is that investment where that particular property will not pay taxes on that for a specific period of time? Just pay the taxes on whatever the value of the building is at this time? Is that what?
I am not educated enough on this to give you a definitive answer today, but I will absolutely look up for you and email all of the commissioners with an answer.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution for the Personnel and Human Services Committee meeting, resolution number 2000. I'm sorry, Mr. Commissioner Johnson.
I'm more than happy to try and help out with this. All right, so we've got resolution number 2022-16, the Just FOIA software licensing agreement. Move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-17, grant applications up to $10,000 for a freezer and warmer for the Department of Aging. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 2022-18, vacancies for 911, Central Dispatch, Finance, Sheriff, Marine Patrol. I move this resolution.
Support.
The finance portion needs to be removed. Excuse me.
Not doing the purchasing.
My apologies. Just the vacancies for 911 and the Sheriff's Marine Patrol. Move that resolution.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then resolution number 2022-19, reauthorization of the Health Department reorganization.
Support.
1 second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. I'll do this one. Okay. So, and you want to do this or you want me to do it?
It's up to you. We got one more.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So resolution 2022-20, the Finn County Police Department network access. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
And do we want to do, is it Resolution 2022-21? With resolution to accept the appointment for the new financial officer. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Hey, it's really official. It was official before, it's really official now. Congratulations.
He's sitting over there already. He must have known he was going to get it.
All right, sir, and that is all that I have.
All right, thank you. So under unfinished business, we have this food license fees and opinion on legality of a blanket waiver for food service establishment license.
We got to do item F and item G.
Okay.
Is he?
But item F.
Oh, he's item G, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Item G.
F, I think first, is the veterans one.
Veterans?
For some F.
I make a motion.
It's F? That's item F.
All right, well, if this is the veterans issue, I make a motion that we contribute $250,000 to the construction to finish their project over on Madison Avenue.
Support.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Commissioner Fox.
Couple things. So we just approved the Community Foundation to be the point group for all nonprofit requests. So wouldn't this fall under that then? That's one question I have. And I believe when we toured yesterday, it was noted that they have the funds they need to get to phase one. So I have two separate questions, I guess.
So,
I will speak to, if it would be up to the commission if you wanted us to take all of the nonprofit grants and run it through a neutral process, we absolutely can do that. But if there were some that you wanted to fund, that can happen too. There's value in a neutral process.
go ahead, Commissioner Krieger.
So my concern is, this was on the table long before we got to the point where we are now with you with these nonprofits. So we're cleaning up business that has been started, months ago. And because of technicalities and resistance by some board members, here we are now in January. So not that we don't need your help, we do, but this is something that was well before, even before Bay Future was involved.
So since the original request, how much additional funds has the foundation received?
You're addressing me?
Yeah, I'm asking somebody, because I believe yesterday you had shared that you received.
Well, this will put us over the phase one funding. And as I've sent information earlier, and I sent it to you today, but you may not have had time to look at it, broke down where this $250,000 will be utilized on phase one. The various items like entranceway, some flooring, etc. What this does is allows us to go into phase two from any funds that are not spent. So I think I've detailed it fairly well. Yeah, we go back to, I think I submitted on August 5th, the original, and then addendums October, a couple in December, and so on. So, however, this is your process, but we're in. I think Commissioner Kuhn's made the point. We're ready. We don't need a process. I've submitted to Amber our reporting that she might be able to draw into a contract. We're ready to give a report at the end of January, February, March, and a final report in June, because we expect those funds to be gone by the end of June, and the building will be open. So I don't have any trouble working with Diane, but I'm not sure what her grants committee process will do on an outlier like this. I don't know.
Amber?
I just to follow up with Commissioner Fox, I want to make sure that I gave out the appropriate information. Keith, you sent me an email on December 20th.
Yes.
That gave a breakdown of what was left for the project.
Correct.
And it equated to $297,600 for both material and labors for the project components. I just want to make sure that, because she apparently had a walkthrough yesterday, I just want to make sure, are those the same numbers that we're talking about now, or has
Yes,
something happened since then?
No.
Okay.
And out of that, the monies for the 250,000 means that we will take the balance from other sources, one of which came through with the Bautel Challenge grant at the end of the year, $50,000. So
That was before December 20th, though.
that was after.
That was, so,
We received that money after. We received it on the 30th of December.
okay. So this 297 would be reduced by 50? That's the only reason I'm asking.
Yes,
Okay. Sure.
If there were other funds available, that's what we needed to get Phase 1 completed. This funding is what we were counting on. But in our conversations, we've been raising funds since then, and we will continue to do so, because we want to continue doing Phase 2 and Phase 3, so.
I just want to make sure that the printout that I gave them from December 20th was accurate. So
Yes.
this is $50,000 that's been raised since that point.
Right.
So, okay, so.
Is that clear, Commissioner Fox?
Well, I thought you said there was also another grant that was received, but,
Chancellor, which was going to Phase 2. That's what they they directed it to.
okay.
And state funding and city funding has all been allocated to Phase 2 and Phase 3.
I like what you're trying to do. I also heard there are 784 nonprofits. So the idea that everyone gets a fair opportunity is very appealing to me.
Well, I
kind of want to help
agree.
everybody, and we don't have that much money.
I agree, but I think that if you look at the breakdown of 700 not-for-profits, a lot of them are the family not-for-profits for organizations that are memorializing a loved one. They're not having community impact like some of the more traditional, I want to say. So, but that's only from my general knowledge on not-for-profits.
Thank you.
One of the things I thought when, we just approved $500,000 for the community foundation for nonprofits, and I agree with you, Marie, that so people they have a process, and we don't. We say, somebody comes in and said, we can ask for money, and maybe we'll get it, and maybe we won't. It's a lot different than when they go to the community foundation and ask for it, where there is a process in place. Our process changes from person to person, I think, and that's one of the reasons I think that we approved them to handle that portion of it, and I think they will do a very good job doing that. And my thought was, and I think some of the other commissioners, I don't know, maybe not, but that instead of having someone come here every 1 to 2, every 3 or 4 people saying, how about 25, how about 30,000, we'll say, we approve money that goes to the foundation, you can go apply there, and they will, if you pass their testing, their rigorous test, which they do, and prove that you need this money, and they can help, they will help. But I don't think that, I don't like this. I don't like the 250,000. I just don't. Maybe they should get some, but I don't know if we can do it all. Commissioner Coonan.
We didn't approve the community foundation to oversee anything. We gave the community foundation $500,000. That's what we approved. Not to look at every amount of money that might go to a nonprofit. That's not what we approved.
What did we approve?
$500,000.
For them to use towards nonprofits?
ARPA money.
Yeah, not for this particular project.
Well, maybe they should, and they might. All you have to do is apply.
I call the question.
Could I make a comment?
Need a two-thirds majority to call the question. I guess it'd be 5, 4, whatever. Right? Two-thirds for calling the question.
4.96, which would make you 5, yeah?
4 or 5, whatever.
So do you have two-thirds? Do we have two-thirds to call the question? Who's in favor of calling the question? Please raise your hand.
Or, they didn't have you do
Roll call.
roll call.
For calling the question?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Fox,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
Begic,
Yes?
Coonan,
Yes.
Radke,
Yes?
Johnson,
Yes.
Herrick.
Yes, let's call the question. Here we go.
What are we doing exactly?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
What-
Raise your hand if you're no.
What are we voting on now? Is this the original motion?
The
Voting on
question.
I think you need to call the question, or you need
We
to...
just did.
You need to do a roll call.
We need to do a roll call?
Yeah.
Because,
Division.
yes, Amber.
Point of order. So the motion that was had was to call the vote. The vote is the motion by Commissioner Coonan, seconded by Commissioner Krieger, for an up or down vote, which should be roll call vote.
Which we roll call?
Roll call.
For calling, for coming back to his original
His
motion?
roll call vote on his initial motion.
Wait, say that again. Roll
Roll
call?
call vote on his initial motion,
On the motion, okay.
His original motion.
supported by Commissioner Krieger, for $250,000 to the Bay Community Foundation for construction costs using ARPA funding.
What is it?
Sorry, Veterans Foundation.
Veterans Foundation.
Sorry, Veterans Foundation, my bad.
Can you say it again?
Did you get all that?
Motion to give $250,000 to the Veterans Foundation for construction costs to complete Phase 1 using ARPA funding.
Last time we were going to vote on it.
Fox,
No, I want to see it go through the community foundation.
Krieger,
Yes.
Begic,
On the advice of Corporation Counsel, I abstain.
Coonan,
Yes.
Radke,
No, similar to Fox, I would like to see it go through the foundation.
John, Herrick.
No.
Okay, so we have 3 noes, 3 yeses, 1 abstain. So motion fails?
Correct.
Okay. On we go.
Is there a possibility for comment or?
Item G. What was G?
G, I believe, was for administration to conduct a broadband study.
So moved.
Discussion. Commissioner Begic.
So I've talked to the Michigan Association of Counties, and broadband is in a prosperity plan they have with the state. I'm afraid that us at a local level is going to spend some money on a study, and we're not going to be able to do anything with it. There are some studies out there from people that have presented to us before, so there are some maps out there. So I think before we do spend our money, I think we should look at the state and collaborating with them to work together to have a bigger pool of money to get something done.
Commissioner Fox.
So I'm on the Michigan Association of Counties Environmental Committee, and that Deanne Bosworth did an update on Friday, and what she said was there is a significant amount of broadband money coming through the infrastructure bill, but in order for counties and communities to be ready for when that funding becomes available, it behooves everyone to have the assessment, so you know what you're dealing with, what kind of funds you need and where. And those that are ready at the time the money is available are the ones most likely to get the funding.
That was the purpose of the motion.
Yeah, yeah.
You're going to agree with that?
Yeah.
So, my question is that enough money? What if it's not enough money? I mean, it's 100, If we don't even know.
No idea.
I know, we don't, so my question is, we don't know where we're going with it. And I know I've asked Kristen to look into it, and she's talked to our finance director, who kind of knows a little bit more about this stuff than anybody around here. And they're putting together some information about who might be doing these studies, and they haven't got there yet, because we just did it about a week ago. So the question I would have is, do we want to hold off on an amount until we at least get a name and find out what it might cost? I have no problem doing it, because I think we should. But I want to make sure we got the right amount of money to do it with, and the people, that they can find the right people. Yes?
It's up to $150,000. If you spend $50,000, we bring the $100,000 back.
What if it's $250,000?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
The point is, we need broadband in the county.
Absolutely.
And if we sit on our hands like we've been doing the last 2-3 months, nothing's going to get done.
Well, that's why they're looking into it.
That's why we said
That's my
we want administration to put forth a request for a proposal to see who can do this and what they would charge.
That's what they're doing. That's what they're working on.
It doesn't sound like what you're doing to me.
We'll vote on it, that's fine, I'm just telling you what they're doing.
I want to know what we're doing, not what they're doing.
They're the ones that, you can't look, you don't know anything about broadband, that's what they do.
The resolution is to propose up to $150,000 for a request for a proposal, that administration is going to go out and seek a request for a proposal to see if there's anybody out there who would do this project to let us know what we need in this community. That's what it's all about.
It is about that, I agree.
Call the question. Jesus.
Go ahead.
Just for clarification, Commissioner Coonan, is this a needs assessment? We're going up for an RFP for a broadband needs assessment?
Sure, in the county.
Mr. President.
Yeah, I just say, I agree with Commissioner Coonan. Broadband is critical, and Commissioner Fox has worked hard on promoting that, especially for northern Bay County, but we have townships like Portsmouth Township also that don't have connectivity to Wi-Fi, and so it's something we ought to do. However, we're aware that millions of dollars have been allocated for broadband in Bay County, but the entities that have received the money have not moved forward on it. And we don't really have an subdivision of Bay County government that's ever done broadband before. And I agree, there's going to be a lot of money coming through in the infrastructure bill. Besides roads and bridges, broadband is critical nationally. So, yeah, I'd be very supportive of the effort to let's get moving on this and determine where we go from here.
Yeah, I know.
As we say, on other times we've gotten comments that we've got until 2005 to spend the money, but I think broadband is critical. We have to move and commit the county towards expanding our services to all of our residents, regardless of where they live. And without broadband today, you can't work remotely. Our students won't, if schools shut down because of COVID or any other disaster, they won't have access to virtual education, as well as farm equipment that runs on GPS. The agricultural sector is critical as well, too. So I'm all on board. I think Commissioner Coonan is correct, and I'm not sure exactly how we move forward, but that's what we need to find out.
Yeah.
I know the only commissioner that probably is not affected is Commissioner Radke. Maybe Commissioner Coon is there, but I know that he is, I am, and Vaughn is, Ernie is. So anyways, okay, all ready?
I'm just going to say it's a big issue. It's bigger than remote work. It's bigger than education. It's the ability to do banking. It's the ability to apply for a job. It's the ability to stay connected with family and friends during COVID. So it's also those little things that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah.
Especially those that
Is that it? All in favor? Nope, you got anything? You got something now?
Nope,
Good?
just
Okay.
communicating back and forth.
We good? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is it-
Just
That's the last one. She said that's the last one.
Unfinished business.
Oh, now we go to unfinished business, the food license fees. Opinion on legality of blanket waiver for food service established license fees in 2022. That's you.
Mr. Chair, Did we,
Commissioner Krieger.
did we address 22-20, Pinconning Police Department? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the prior meeting, Commissioner Krieger requested that I give some information, I believe as well as Commissioner Coonan, as to whether or not it was legally permissible to waive food establishment service license fees. Those are fees that are set every year by this board when you approve the budget. This board has the authority pursuant to the statute. I did attach a legal opinion for you to review. They do have authority under the food service license establishment to waive the county portion of that fee. We cannot waive the state portion of that fee. The state portion of that fee ranges anywhere between $4 and $39. So if the commission wanted to waive any inspection fees for this year, you could do so by motion and vote of the board to reduce that inspection fee to $0. And what we would simply do is we would bill out the amount for the state license fee and pass that through directly to the state.
Commissioner Coonan.
Two things. We heard a presentation from the chamber on businesses that are really struggling. And I'm not saying all of these businesses are struggling. What I'm saying is these businesses have paid their fees for the last 2 years, and they haven't been open 100%. In many instances, they've been closed. They've been at takeout only 50%, 25%, and they paid their fees. Out of consideration, we should acknowledge to them that, hey, we understand what you're going through. And a number of these are churches or nonprofits that still aren't open. And Amber, I understand we're not waiving the fees for the state. So if out of that $150,000, if $10,000 of those are the state fees, the state don't care if it comes from Coonan. All the state wants is their money. So instead of, I'm trying to save time and, redundancy of sending something out there, you owe us $4 or $10 or whatever it might be. So the resolution would be to, whatever that amount is, we're going to waive it. And then we're still going to send the $10,000 to the state.
And unfortunately, as stated in the opinion, because this is being paid out of the general fund, we cannot pay a debt of a private entity because it's an unlawful extension of credit if it's being paid out of the general fund. If we were to pay an otherwise non-waivable fee that's payable to the state on behalf of a private entity, that would be a violation of the law.
All right, then we'll play it. We'll do it your way. We'll waive the fees except for the state, and then you can send a bill for $4.
Commissioner Begic.
So we're still talking about general fund money here, aren't we?
Correct.
I'd be in favor of ARPA money, but I wouldn't be in favor of general fund money to waive these fees.
Anybody else? Did you want to say something else?
Commissioner Begic, the reason that we were looking at whether or not we could give this money out of the general fund is because if we were to make a determination that we were going to use ARPA funds in order to waive this, then we would have to require that the different restaurants and food service establishments provide us documentation showing that they were negatively impacted by COVID. And we would have to use that documentation in our reporting requirements to the state to establish that we were meeting all of the ARPA and COVID-19 guidelines. There are many restaurants that probably would not be willing to go that extra mile and provide all of that documentation for a small amount of money, and quite frankly, we just don't have the staff here that would be able to do that vetting process over that period of time, which is why Commissioner Coonan suggested that it be paid out of the general fund so we could avoid that requirement.
Commissioner Coonan.
And Amber, being what you just said, that those businesses would be required to provide financials.
If it was paid out of ARPA, not if it's paid out of the general
And I think
fund.
the same goes for
Yes.
the small businesses that Trevor is going to work with. They have to provide those financials as well.
Correct. Which is because they're using ARPA funds. But if we're using general funds, this is a license fee that we have the discretion to charge for or not charge for. You make that determination. So for the inspection fee, which is the county portion, we're actually charging for the service of inspecting and accepting the application and doing the grunt work. The state fee is actually just a license fee, and that is not waivable. So we can waive our fee structure for this year and say the county portion is going to be 0, but we still have to collect that state portion and send it on because we can't pay a bill of a private entity using general fund tax dollars. That's an unlawful extension of credit.
Commissioner Begic.
So can we have Bay Future administer the ARPA money for the small businesses? Since we've got them doing this other, they'll be dealing with small businesses anyway.
So we could...
They are, and the resolution that the board passed with regard to Bay Future actually increased the amount of money for small businesses significantly because you shifted the $270,000 that Bay Future was initially going to be giving to nonprofits, and you took that $270,000 and you shifted it up to small business relief. So they could certainly utilize those ARPA funds in order to give that type of relief. But again, if what you want to do is a show of good faith showing that you're waiving a fee, I question how many restaurants are going to submit all of that documentation to save $200. If it's a business that's actually in need, they're absolutely going to go to Bay Future. Bay Future is going to make that review. If this is something that the county commission wants to do, unfortunately, just as a process, I think that you would have to pay it out of general fund pursuant to a waiver of the inspection fee.
Commissioner Johnson.
So you're looking at, if you're not waiving the state fee, which you cannot.
Correct.
You're looking at $145,000.
Roughly, yes.
About $145,000. You roll $3 million into the general fund that's undistributed. Correct? Like last year. Funds that weren't necessarily used.
From the CARES Act.
Right. $145,000 in order to say, we realize that you had to pay something that you couldn't even, couldn't use in an appropriate way. Even if your restaurant was closed or closed and they had drive-through, you're still looking at people that had like their indoor spot shut up. They're running fewer people. Those people weren't. There's all kinds of effects that happen from that whole situation. All you're trying to say is, we realize we charged you for something you couldn't use, so we're just not charging you for this one.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just want, how do we roll the money to, what's the easiest way if we're going to do this, to roll the money to somebody? Is it through them or?
It's simply a waiver of the fee, so you would go as the health department normally does, they would go and inspect, and instead of giving them a bill for $438, they're going to give them a bill for $7.
So when this year someone was to go, rather than you collecting that fee, it will just slowly ebb away from what you're.
It's revenue that you're not going to collect and earn this year. It's not money that you're paying out of the general fund, it's money that you're not going to bring in. Now, pursuant to the budgeting process, if it was anticipated in the budget that we were going to have revenue for X number of dollars, you're going to fall short in your budget projection.
That's where you have to move the money, when you have to come at the end and
make a budget adjustment.
Sure. Somewhere down the road, and then that's where the money will go.
Sure, so you're not paying this money out of your account, you're just not collecting.
You're just not collecting.
So that's the best way, so the best way to do it is not collect it, not to pay it, but not collect it. Correct?
If this is what the board wants to do, if the board wants to do this and waive these as assigned to the different businesses, then this is probably the easiest way to go about it for both the county and for the different establishments.
Because once all the inspections and things are done, there's got to be a deadline for most of those have to be.
I'm certain there is, and I have no idea what it is.
Right, but once that time comes, eventually someone would have to come and ask for a budget adjustment, at which time that would then have to be okay because you just said that you were not going to be collected.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I usually agree with Commissioner Vaughn Begic on a lot of issues, but I think to expect a food service establishment to come in and prove their financials and things, how they were impacted by COVID, to waive a $200 fee or $400 fee, we just really wouldn't see people seeking that. Some people have mentioned to me, well, what about the pizza places that did a lot of business because the indoor dining was shut down. But I just think it's still a small symbolic effort that Bay County can do to thank the businesses who struggled through COVID. And even those that made money are having trouble retaining staff and hiring staff. It's been a huge headache for everybody. So symbolically, I think it's a small symbolic effort to just waive it all, except unfortunately for the state portion. And somehow have the health department put in an explanation that it wasn't possible to waive the state portion legally. And I think they'd still appreciate the relief. But to expect Bay Future or anybody to, or any other staff to go through, sift through for a couple of $100 on an inspection fee is, I don't think many people would actually do it. And I think they would appreciate the sentiment behind waiving it. And everybody can use a little extra and they've struggled too, even if they're doing a lot of business, whether it was pizza or takeout or fast food establishments. So that's my view for consideration by the board.
So my thought would be, it would be okay for Amber to, I don't know, anybody has a disagreement, for Amber to write it up the way it should be and we just pass it at the next meeting. Does that sound logical?
I don't need to write up anything at all. You just need to vote to waive the food service license fees to 0 for the year 2022.
It's been moved and supported, I believe.
Correct.
So give us the gist here so Katie can get it down.
Need a motion to waive the food service license inspection fee, the county portion, for the year 2022.
Pretty simple.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
No dissensions. Perfect. Any new business? Any miscellaneous? Commissioner Krieger.
Thank you. So the board has the ability to set fees, and they also have the ability to reduce fees like we did for the seniors with the pool, correct? So how is it that in the year 2020, the health department took upon themselves to make adjustments to individuals' fees? It never came before the board. How can that happen?
I don't know the specifics of what occurred. There were some emails that were going back and forth that looked like amounts had been reduced. It's my understanding after further discussing this, I don't know if Joel has any information that he could share on this or not, but it's my understanding that those fees were not in fact reduced. The food service license was just held in abeyance. And I don't know the answer for certain. Fees should not be waived without board approval.
Right.
If that is in fact what occurred, we'll be making sure that all of the department directors know that fees cannot be waived or reduced without full board approval. That's a policy that's set by the board, not by administration.
It's online.
Okay. I have one more.
Yes, go ahead.
And this is back to administration. Now that we've pretty much dwindled our first round with ARPA, I think, how much do we have? What's our balance?
So far, you've given $500,000 to the Bay Community Foundation. You've given $300,000 to the Boys and Girls Club of the Great Lakes Bay region. You have given approximately $2 million to Bay Future. Those are the only expenditures that I'm aware of under ARPA funds.
$250 for broadband.
Oh, and $150,000 for broadband. Those are the only expenditures so far that the board has approved.
Okay. Is it too late to amend something? Is it too late to amend something?
That was previously,
Right.
you guys are killing me.
We got all night. We're doing the people's work. There's no hurry.
From a parliamentarian standpoint, I don't know, Commissioner Coonan, unless you were to say what it is that you're going to amend, and then I can look under Robert's Rules of Order to give you an answer.
Yeah, I would like to amend and give Bay Community Foundation another $250,000 so that they can vet that and give that back to the veterans.
Is it your motion that you give them an additional $250,000 for them to give to the Veterans Foundation.
Vet it and give it to them.
Vet and give.
Yeah.
What if they vet and they do not find them to be an appropriate recipient?
Well, then we're out, well, then they have another $250,000 to use wherever they want to use it. It's a good organization.
I was just going to say, during the initial discussion today, I didn't think 500,000 would be adequate. I know that the public doesn't understand that legislative branch appropriates and we kind of implement in the administration. But I have been inundated, I don't know if you have, from after, the city of Bay City has been directly making revenue available through ARPA funds to individual nonprofits, the public has become more aware. A lot of people are contacting me and indicating, a host of nonprofits. So not sure if they've been directing you, but I've directly contacting you. But I don't think $500,000 would last very long.
And that's that's why I want to amend the motion to give them another $250,000. Let them review the veterans and vet it, and hopefully say, yes, that's a good project to use those dollars for.
And I'll support that.
What's that? Okay. I'd want to say, just make it an even 500, make it $1 million. I mean, we know that they give out $2 million every spring, between spring and fall, and it goes to these, so, and when after I saw their presentation, and then I knew that, I thought we were a little short, but that's the way it was printed, so we didn't do anything then, but I'd rather see it be just 500,000. This moved down.
You're saying an additional 500?
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically double what we had.
Well, could we not, and I appreciate what Kim's trying to accomplish very much, could we two-phase it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you could phase it, but you could phase it. You could give 500,000 one year, 500,000 another year.
Yeah. But I don't know if it makes sense. I'm just thinking of.
Yeah, you can.
What don't make sense to me is not acting in a timely manner for these people, these businesses. That's why I brought this stuff forward, because who knew when anybody was going to bring anything forward, And if that's the way we got it, there's more than one way to do business, and if everybody talks about process, well, I haven't seen a whole lot of process around here. So if somebody's got a worthy program or to fund money with ARPA, bring it forward.
She's researching.
I'm looking.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could still continue then while she's looking up as a parliamentarian. My other question under miscellaneous is, there's been talk of relocating or coming up with a new set of digs for the health department. I would like at some point in the future to have some feedback from administration on what that process is or will be.
There she is.
Kristen?
You asked me to schedule that presentation for February Ways and Means.
Okay, so that's still, okay,
So it's on the docket.
very good. Thank you.
We're good. We're just waiting for our parliamentarian. She's researching hard.
In the verbiage for the resolution, did it state a specific dollar amount for administration, or did it say a percentage?
Specific dollar amount.
Because if you're going to do more money, then you need to change it.
It's a 5% administrative fee.
Yeah, oh, yeah. It goes right
But
with
it's
it.
stated as a dollar amount, that should be changed to the
How much?
5%. It's stated as a $25,000 administrative.
Yeah, okay, well,
Oh, it says,
I didn't know.
25, what's it, on the foundation?
That's what I saw.
I thought it said 5%. I mean, she had 5% on the
I
presentation.
think you're right. I think it's just in the resolution, there's the amount of money.
Oh,
Within
okay.
that amount of money, they'll take 5%.
Yeah,
administrative.
yeah. So
Okay.
it should automatically say 5%.
I think it's specified 25.
I saw that
in the
somewhere.
resolution.
Okay.
So it's,
But there it's got 5%. So if you were to actually add more money to it, then you probably need to change the wording as to like the dollar amount that was in the original resolution and change it to 5%.
I agree. Because it's cheaper than our staff could do it.
up to an additional $25,000.
For 5%. Just make a completely new resolution.
You could do that, and I would be super appreciative.
We'd have to rescind the first resolution.
No, you can move to simply give them more money.
I'll make a resolution that another $250,000 would go to Bay Community Foundation, specifically to vet the program with the veterans, Bay Veterans Foundation, and hopefully contribute that money to the completion of their project.
I'll support it.
You say specifically for the Veterans Foundation?
That's what I said.
What if they don't, they have a
Then they keep it, then they keep it.
So
The money's going to them to vet.
Well,
for it.
then it can't be specifically for the vets.
Specifically to vet the vets. Specifically to vet the vets. If they decide the vets aren't worthy of that, then they keep the money. Oh, it's been moved and supported. You got something, Amber?
You can bring a motion to reconsider when seconded by another member and acknowledged by the chair, which will have the effect of suspending, at least temporarily, any action growing out of the vote proposed to be reconsidered. So the general rule is that it's a motion to reconsider. You have the entire assembly vote on the motion to reconsider. If at that point in time you wish to make an amendment, you may debate it, and then you can move to approve the amendment. If the amendment fails, then your prior motion still stays.
I move to reconsider.
Support.
Any more discussion? Go ahead.
Roll call.
Yeah.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
So we're not voting on giving them any money, so I guess I can vote yes.
Coonan.
Yes.
Radke.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Herrick.
Sure. This is just a reconsider.
Right.
What are we reconsidering now?
You're reconsidering the amount of money that you're giving to the Bay Community Foundation,
Increase it to $750,000.
plus an additional administrative fee.
Sure, it's at 5%.
Equal
We all
to
know
5%.
that.
Sure. Why not? Let's reconsider. We've come this far. Okay. So does anybody want to go to 500,000? Let's raise it up. Nope. 250. So it's 250. So it'd make a total of 750,000. And they would be vetted through the normal process. And if they don't cut mustard, whatever happens, happens. With a 5% administration fee.
The Bay Community Foundation shall consider any application from the Bay Community Foundation.
They can apply there. They can apply like anybody else. Go ahead.
Did you have to?
I have a question.
Is there any
Go ahead.
discussion?
Thought we voted.
No, that was reconsideration.
Okay. Reconsider, voted.
So we got to now we got to do the 250 thing. Okay.
A
So
motion
we
to
got
add
Kim and Ernie again.
$250,000 plus the 5% administrative fee to the Bay Community Foundation, and that they must accept and vet any application made by the Bay Veterans Foundation.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Clarification, so we are not voting to give $250,000 to the Bay Veterans Foundation.
Correct.
So I'm going to vote whatever way I vote. Thank you.
I'll make that motion, what you just said.
Already made it.
He did it. He made a motion already.
So you can support it?
I support it.
He already supported it, so we're just kind of waiting.
So somebody read to me what the motion is then.
Read it, Katie. What do you want? Oh, who's got it?
Amber just
She's
read
got
it about 2 times.
Go ahead,
So why
Amber,
don't you
read
do it
it.
again?
A motion to give an additional $250,000 to the Bay Area Community Foundation plus a 5% administrative fee. Bay Community Foundation shall accept any application and vet any application by the Bay Veterans Foundation.
What is accepted?
Yeah, go ahead, ask the question.
Accept an application of and vet that application. If they submit an application, they must consider it and vet it.
They must consider it. And it'll go through the normal review process?
Yes.
Okay.
What's that? Okay, go ahead, Katie.
Begich.
Yes.
Coonan.
Yes.
Radke.
Yes?
Johnson.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Herrick.
Yes.
Should have left.
Are you all done?
No. Commissioner Krieger.
So, if I'm wrong, maybe you can correct me, but is Robert's Rules nothing more than suggestions? It's not a Bible?
Your board rules specifically state that you shall follow Robert's rules if there is not a specific board rule to cover the situation that you are following. So you can amend your board rules to accept any type of parliamentary procedure that you like.
Okay.
Mr. Barson.
I don't want to bash Robert's Rules of Order, but they're so complex that neither the United States Congress or the state legislature follow Robert's Rules of Orders. They use Mason's rules. Much simpler for people to understand, but I know.
We used to use
You might want to consider a change in the...
Probably complicated too.
Okay. Any other miscellaneous? How about announcements about a closed session? Why not, right?
No. Oh, no.
Let's go. Do it.
I'll move to adjourn.
Support?
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yeah.